All right, so you moved back to Japan, and then you start a company called SoftBank. What was SoftBank's purpose? What kind of business were you in?
So that was the beginning of the time of the personal computer got started. So, but there's hardware, not enough software. So I aggregate all kinds of software from the small software houses. And I wholesale to the PC stores. So it's like a bank, the software's bank. It's not the money bank. The software wholesaling, storing in my warehouse. So it's like a concept.
So it was very successful. SoftBank stock is going up. And then you decide at some point to start investing. One of the investments you made is considered by many people to be the most successful investment in the history of mankind. You invested roughly $20 million in Alibaba. And at the time it went public, it was worth roughly $90 billion. So 20 million to 90 billion is a return of about 4,500%. Now, Jack Ma is a very distinguished individual now one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. What is it that made you feel this was worth putting in $20 million?
Well, he had no business plan and zero revenue. Employees, maybe 35, 40 employees. But his eyes was very strong eyes, strong, shining eyes. I could tell from the way he talked, the way he looked at, he has a charisma, he has a leadership. So his business model was wrong. It's the way he talked, the way he can bring young Chinese people following him.
Before Yahoo was so famous, you made an early investment in it, which was spectacularly successful. How did you hear of Yahoo?
Yeah, Yahoo US was still private, 15 employees, and I convinced Jerry Yang to take $100 million of our investment. So at the time we negotiated, we agreed they grew from 15 to 35 people, 35 people. And we invest $100 million to own 35%, and actually went IPO and made a great return. And at the same time, I convinced him to start joint venture, board of Yahoo Japan, where we put $1.2 million, they put $0.8 million, $2 million startup capital. We own 60%.
Now, let's talk about one big mistake you made overall. Obviously, you're very successful in almost everything you've touched, but you were making a lot of internet investments around the turn of the century, around year 2000, 1999, 2001. The market went down in the tech crash, and it is said that you personally lost $70 billion of net worth, the greatest loss that any human being has ever suffered financially. So how did you feel losing $70 billion of net worth?
1 year before that, actually, my net worth, personal net worth, was increasing $10 billion per week. For 3 days, I became richer than Bill Gates.
Wow. Did that upset him, or?
No, before I told to anybody else, our stock started crashing.
Okay.
So in 6 months after that, our share price went down 99%. So we almost went bankrupt. And somehow I survived.
You rebuilt your business. And among the things you did was you bought some very well-known companies. So you bought Vodafone's mobile telephone business in Japan.
At that time, I said, now is the time to go next stage, which is the internet will become mobile internet. So I had to either get the license from the government for the spectrum or acquire Vodafone Japan. And first I applied for the license to the government, and the government said, no, there is no more spectrum. So I actually sued the government. And for 1 year, big fight. But then the Vodafone Japan became available. $20 billion. I had $2 billion. So $18 billion short.
So where'd you get the money?
So I convinced the bank, that the Vodafone Japan, I'm going to turn around and become successful and become great cash flow. Believe me and lend me money.
And they did.
They did.
And it turned out to be very successful. And recently, you did the biggest investment you've ever made in a company called ARM, which is ARM, which is a semiconductor manufacturer based in London. Why did you spend $31 billion buying a semiconductor manufacturer when many people think that that's not the future?
It's actually $34 billion.
34.
Yeah. It's not the manufacturer, it's a design house. They design all the chipset. They have 99% market share for any smartphone that you have in your pocket. ARM has 99% market share, right? In next 20 years, they're gonna ship 1 trillion chips, designed for 1 trillion chips. So I said, this is the company. This is, nobody can live on the earth anymore without chip. Chip is everywhere, in the car, in your refrigerator, everywhere. So if chip is something that everybody needs, and if there is one company has 90% market share, there must be a value. They're not monetizing well enough, but if I own it, we can monetize much better. So that's my belief. So I think the company is going to be more valuable than Google.
So let me ask you.
It's not available. It's a private company now.
So you don't worry that robots could become so smart they could wipe out humanity, as some people worry?
There is a danger. But when the robot super intelligence go beyond mankind's intelligence, and they say, well, fighting is the not efficient way of living, the harmony is better,